everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared, and in this video, well, it seems that more royalty and important people are dying. This is now like the third video that I've done where we've noted some really high profile deaths of people that, were like the longest living leader of the Soviet Union, for example, Mikhail Gorbachev. And, then there's Queen Elizabeth, the longest reigning British monarch. In this video, we're going to go over more. And we're also going to talk about a sudden rise in deaths among young people, where their hearts are failing them, it would seem. And just a few other things. And so what you're looking at here, if you're not familiar, this is from Avengers, Marvel Avengers, and you have Samuel Jackson here disintegrating. His character name is Nick Fury, and the Marvel movies, at least the first phase or two phases, whatever, built up to this point where this main bad guy of like all these movies finally got to the point where he could make half of all life vanish like this. He snapped his finger. He got the Infinity Stones together, all of them together, snapped his finger, and then made half of the population disappear because he was concerned about overpopulation. And it's pretty obvious that this is almost like, and I don't know if they intentionally did this. If Satan had a hand in these movies, he does have real influence in the world, and he can have an effect upon the minds of people and direct things. And I wonder if, in some kind of way, they intentionally had this be the storyline where you have suddenly a very, very, very large population disappear. Half of all people. And we know that when the second coming comes, there's going to be a burning, right? And we don't know what the percentage is going to be. If we look at the parable of the 10 virgins, half of them were gone. Of course, that was referring to members of the church. But could it have also been referring to the world as a whole? I don't know. But I can only assume that it's going to be a very, very large percentage. And I don't mean 20 or even like 30%. I would assume 50% or more. I don't know. But anyway, as we're thinking about these people that are passing away, I was talking to my wife Jenica, and I was like, is the burning already beginning in some kind of way? Now, I'm going to show you some statements from general authorities about, is it going to be an actual fire that cleanses the earth? Before I do, the way that this is working out with planet Earth is, for some reason, and it does seem like it's because the Earth is in some way alive, the Earth is getting baptized. When Christ comes and cleanses the Earth, it's going to receive the Holy Ghost. And then it's going to go on, be in a terrestrial condition, and then finally its ultimate destiny is to become a celestial world. So the fact that it's going through the same process as us is really interesting. And we know that as we individually are progressing through the eternities, the first step is, after faith and repentance, the next step is baptism. And when we get baptized, we're baptized with literal water. We all go down into a font. We have to be completely submerged. The witnesses are supposed to be watching to make sure that no part of you is above the water, that you get completely submerged. That's how we do it in this church. But the next baptism is the receiving of the Holy Ghost. Okay. And at that part, it's referred to as the baptism of fire, but do they go out into the parking lot, or do they have a special room with like a furnace and then put you in the furnace or in the fire pit and baptize you the same way that they did with water? No, they don't. But the Holy Ghost is the one that provides you with the cleansing effect from sin, of course, under Christ. It is the one that purifies you. So I have to wonder if it'd be something similar when the earth receives the Holy Ghost, when it has its baptism by fire. Now, I don't just go with my theories or my guesses, no matter how logically sound they are. So I went through and I found as many quotes as I can. And if you have more, please let me know. Put it in the comments below or email me. But I wanted to get to the bottom of, is the fire going to be an actual fire, or is it going to be more like just simply a cleansing of the earth? And I kind of already knew the answer to this question because I had already come across a couple quotes talking about how it's an actual fire. But let me read you what I found. So the first one, okay, this is from 2018 in the Doctrine and Covenants Student Manual, Religion 324 to 325. It says, this is for DNC 29:9. The wicked shall burn as stubble. In this passage, figurative, or is this passage figurative, or will the wicked really burn? President Joseph Fielding Smith said, quote, "It is not a figure of speech that is meaningless, or one not to be taken literally when the Lord speaks of the burning. All through the scriptures, we have the word of the Lord that is coming, that at his coming, the wicked and the rebellious will be as stubble and will be consumed. Isaiah has so prophesied. Surely the words of the Lord are not to be received lightly or considered meaningless." That's from Church History and Modern Revelation. I tried to look that up, but it doesn't seem like that's online, so that's why I'm just quoting from this. But later, the manual continues and it says, Christ is a glorified celestial being, and the glory of such beings is comparable to that of the sun. The presence of Christ, when he comes in his glory, will be as a consuming fire. The mountains will flow down at his presence, the elements will melt with fervent heat, and the waters will boil. Even the sun will hide its face in shame. The scriptures also talk about the time when, quote unquote, devouring fire will be poured out upon the wicked. Okay, so there it is. It's pretty clear. Joseph Fielding Smith and, of course, the manual agree. And so there's that. Now here's the next one. This is from Old Testament Student Manual, 1 Kings through Malachi, 2003. Jesus is a celestial being. Since the sun is typical of the glory of the celestial kingdom, the imagery of burning and fire that describes the second coming could actually be caused by the glory of Christ's person. So here it's a little bit less ambiguous, but it does seem to indicate that it's still going to be some kind of burning effect. Okay. In this previous one, it was talking about how the elements are going to melt and stuff like that. The question that I have about that is that, it would seem at least that the temples are going to be safe. So if you have the elements melting, I don't know about you, but for me, that gives me the picture of kind of like lava. Because I mean, that's what melted rocks look like. It's lava. So is that saying that the entire earth, like all the land, is going to become lava? I don't think so. I don't. We do know that there's a lot of activity on the earth right now, specifically volcanic activity, earthquakes. There's a lot of things happening. To what extent the earth itself is going to be melted. I don't know. When it becomes a celestial, when it becomes a celestial world after the millennium, it'll become like a sea of glass. But during the millennium, it's going to be in its paradisiacal glory. Um, you know, if everything melted, it would probably. Well, I guess everyone that's going to remain would be translated, so they would be able to withstand that if they're on the Earth. You know, there's just a lot of questions here that it's still kind of aren't being answered. I don't know, but what seems clear is that there's going to be a burning of some sort. Here's the next one. This is from Bruce R. McConkie, The Millennial Messiah, The Second Coming of the Son of Man, 1985. Quote, "This time he shall come in flaming fire. The vineyard shall be burned, and every living soul on earth shall know that a new order, or worldwide dimensions, has been ushered in." Later on, he says, "In flaming fire, what kind of fire? Flaming fire is flaming fire. It is actual, literal fire that burns trees, melts ore, and consumes corruption." Okay, and then the last one. This is from Elder Charles W. Penrose, uh, something that he wrote in Millennial Star. Okay, 1859. "He comes. The earth shakes and the tall mountains tremble. The mighty deep rolls back to the north, as in fear, and the rent skies glow with molten brass. He comes. The dead saints burst forth from their tombs, and those who are alive and remained are caught up with them to meet him. The ungodly rush to hide themselves from his presence and call upon the quivering rocks to cover them. He comes, with all the hosts of the righteous glorified. The breath of his lips strikes death to the wicked. His glory is a consuming fire." So here, this is what the manual had cited, is that his glory is a consuming fire. "The proud and rebellious are as stubble. They are burned and left neither root nor branch. He sweeps the earth as with the besom of destruction. He deluges the earth with the fiery floods of his wrath, and the filthiness and abominations of the world are consumed. Satan and his dark hosts are taken and bound. The prince of power of the air has lost his dominion. For he whose right it is to reign has come, and the kingdoms of this world have become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ." So, according to this, it wouldn't seem that what's happening with these kings, queens, prime ministers, pope, and so on is the fire, but I wonder if it's the lead up, right, to the fire. Or maybe, I don't know. That's my best understanding right now. But something odd sure is happening. Something odd sure is happening. So let's get into the most recent. Okay. So this is an email from Dennis Long. Subject line: "Hawaii's last link to royalty just died in December 2022. Okay. "Jared, while you were composing your timetable for world leaders and royalty who have passed away recently, please consider adding this name to your list: Abigail Kawānanakoa. She died on the 11th of December, 2022. She is, by most Hawaiian genealogists, the last hereditary link to the long line of Hawaiian ali'i, or royalty. See two published excerpts below, and I actually pulled those up, and I'll put the references in the description below. Many think if the U.S. did not take or overthrow the monarchy, that Abigail would have sat on the throne as the Kingdom of Hawaii's last princess or queen. Anyway, she's yet another key figurehead to have left mortality recently. It's almost as if the world's list of leaders is being erased, paving the way for Jesus to assume the throne as he, undisputed, rightful king of the world upon his second coming. Aloha, Dennis Long." Thank you, Dennis, because I would not have known about this. So, Here she is right here. Um, Abigail Kawānanakoa, 96. There's so many of these people that are like, they're living long lives, 96. But this is how long the Queen of England lived. Queen Elizabeth dies, claimed to be last Hawaiian princess. Let me just read a little bit about her really quick. Abigail Kawānanakoa, whose claims to be the last princess of Hawaii and the heiress to one of the largest fortunes, were only two high points in a life that was also encompassed championship horse racing, identity theft, and a legal battle with her own charitable foundation over her vast estate. Died on Sunday at her home in Honolulu. She was 96. Her death was announced by Paula Akana, the executive director of the Friends of Iolani Palace, the former royal residence of Hawaii's rulers in Honolulu. Miss Kawananakoa, who also went by the nickname Kekau, was sometimes divisive symbol of Hawaii's past as an independent island nation. Her great-great-uncle David Kalakaua was the last king. His successor, Queen Lili Uokalani, was deposed in 1893 in a coup supported by American sugar barons, which led to Hawaii's annexation by the United States in 1898. She was the only claimant to the non-existent throne. Okay, so it ended a long time ago, but they kind of still knew who was who. A cousin, Owana Kaokhelelani, insists that she is next in line, but Miss Kawananakoa was widely considered the embodiment of the royal line, largely because she played the part so exquisitely, at times outlandishly. You don't say. Here's another article. This is BBC. Here she is again. The royal, known to her friends as Kekau, was one of the last living links to the royal family and was celebrated for her philanthropic support of traditional Hawaiian culture. After the princess's death in 1908, his widow adopted their grandchild through the traditional Hawaiian custom of henai, which strengthened Abigail's claim to the informal title of princess. While some genealogists claim that Princess Kawananakoa had the strongest royal ties to Hawaii, a separate offshoot of the formal royal family claims that Princess Owana Kaolelani is the rightful head of the modern-day dynasty. Mrs. Kawananakoa herself admitted in a 2021 interview with Honolulu magazine that had the monarchy survived, her cousin, Edward Kawananakoa, would have been in line to rule ahead of her based on the rules of succession. Of course, quote, "Of course I would be the power behind the throne. There's no question about that," she joked in an interview. So, sorry if you can hear that. Excuse the sirens in the background. It's noon. They always do a test at noon every day. Nevertheless, I still think that this is significant. It's significant that that's how they're kind of like portraying her in these articles, the last Hawaiian princess, because whether she really is or isn't, how things would work out legally if somehow the monarchy came back, it doesn't really matter. What matters is the way that we think about it and the way that Hawaiians think about it, and people that follow this kind of thing. And there's probably many that do view her as the last Hawaiian princess. So, putting all the minutiae aside, I do think that it's significant. I do. So we have the. I'm going to go over the whole list, but we got Queen Elizabeth that died, the King of Greece that died. He was the last King of Greece. I failed to mention in the last video. I didn't want to go through the entire history, but essentially, Greece had thrown him out. He was in exile for a really long time. He only went back to Greece a couple times, but he was the last Greek king, regardless of whether they threw him out or not. He was the last Greek king, and he passed away recently. So now we have the Hawaiian princess that passed away. What's interesting about this, I'm sure many of you know, this is a BYU article. I haven't read the whole thing. It seems like it seems like the author is kind of like, well, we don't really. There's no official position by the church about the Hawaiians or the Polynesian people, although there's like a multitude of quotes from general authorities. I'm going to go with the general authorities, but I understand what's going on here with, looking at it from a scholarly point of view. This is a quote from, I'll just read it. In speaking to the Hawaiians at La'i, Elder Matthew Cowley said to them, quote, "Brothers and sisters, you are God's children. You are Israel. You have in your veins the blood of Nephi." And there's a bunch of other quotes down here. I'm gonna add that to my topics tracker about the Hawaiians, the Polynesians. Okay. There's been a lot of supporting statements from presidents of the church that the people of New Zealand, the people of Tonga, Samoa, the Polynesians, including Hawaii, that they're Nephites. They're modern day Nephites. And so it's interesting that you have this happen, right? It's significant, kind of like in the same way that last year at the beginning of the year you had the Tonga volcano, the largest explosion ever recorded by modern instruments on Earth, not including space, but on Earth. And that Tonga is the most LDS nation, at like 63% of them are LDS. So now we have this. Okay. Okay, now moving on. We have a comment from Nathaniel Cahoon. I don't know if I've heard from you before, Nathaniel, but that last name, if you don't already know, that's pretty much a Jewish last name. The priests, right, the descendants of Aaron, they go by this kind of last name. Technically, they're called Cohen. Well, singular, it's Cohen, or plural, it's Kohanim. They are the priests, and when they change their name or like adapt it to a new language, like in English, it can be Cahoon, it can be Cowan, it can be Corwin, it can be Cochrane, and stuff like that. So if you don't already know your roots, you may want to look into that, because I'm feeling like that's there might be some Jewish ancestry there based on the name. Okay, he says, I think you forgot Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who was assassinated July 8th, 2022. He was the longest serving prime minister in Japanese history. Yeah. I remember I covered this in a video when it happened, but I wasn't thinking about these things really at that time. I was just like, whoa, this is crazy, because it was a big news story. So because he died of unnatural causes, he was only 67, but this is him right here. Right? Longest serving Japanese prime minister. How is it that we're getting all these longest living, longest serving people of these pretty prominent places dying? And they're not small places. We're talking about the Soviet Union, China, the United Kingdom. Japan has always been important. They were a power, obviously, during World War II. Afterwards, not so much, but they've had a very strong, I think, cultural impact on the world, and wealthy. It's basically like a Western country, Japan is, right? So it's significant that Japan would have this happen, right? So, okay, so he was assassinated. We're going to go over the big picture in just a little bit. Okay, next one, there's another comment. This is from Arith Litharaga Olascoaga. This is my friend from Spain. We served in the same mission, but at different times, so I never met him in person. He says, don't forget past year's death of the king of soccer, Pelé, especially taking into account that it's the most watched sport an event, really. Yeah, that's right. It's the most popular sport in the world. And, you might think that that's silly, but it's not, that he's not an actual king. Uh, because it seems like now, if this is all part of the same event, okay, you're going from not just monarchies, but you're going to democracies and republics. We've talked about the Pope, so now we're in the religious sphere. And now we're going into sports, okay? And there is no official, king in sports, but if you get that nickname, it's kind of like a fact that you're the best, right? And people see you as the king. So Rolling Stone, Pelé, the king of soccer, dead at 82. Obviously, a lot of people know him. I'm not like a big soccer person. I never have been. So, but I know I've heard of him before. So I can only assume that everybody that likes soccer knows about him. So you have the soccer king that's dead at 82. And this was in December. This was in December. Okay? This is a very tight group of dates of these people passing away. And so if the Lord is wanting to do a thing with the people, symbolically, the people of the world, and he's taking these influential, popular, powerful figures and he's starting to phase them out, it would make sense, because there are people that care much more about soccer than they do about their own country or about anything else in life, right? So it's on a symbolic level, this is big that he passed away. All right, let's move on to the next one. I was wanting to see, okay, is there anybody else that I missed? So I did a search for like king died, queen died, princess. And yeah, just a couple days ago, Lisa Marie, Elvis Presley's only daughter, dies at 54. The complicated life of the princess of rock. Now, everyone knows that Elvis Presley was the king of rock. That was like a title that he had. He was the king of rock. He died a long time ago. I know that there's a question about that. But anyway, you have his only daughter, okay, Lisa Marie, that passes away just a couple days ago. The princess of rock. And it's interesting that she was married to Michael Jackson. He's known as the king of pop, right? I haven't verified this, but yeah, king of pop. 10 reasons Michael Jackson became the king of pop, Grammy.com. Okay, so again, we've gone from monarchies to republics and democracies to the Catholic Church, and then down to Hawaii with the well, that's monarchy, and then into the world of sports, and now we're in the world of music. And as far as I know, the only royalty, so to speak, in music is her. Because I don't know if there's like a queen of something. All I know is Michael Jackson and Elvis Presley, but whatever. So the princess of rock dies. It has to be. It has to be this way. If you're royalty right now, it doesn't seem like you're safe. Very interesting happening. So these are kind of the big ones. I continued to search, and I came across I came across some other stuff that's. I mean, I'm not laughing at their deaths, but we have the hiking queen dies after falling 500 feet down icy California mountain. This is an article from yesterday, Friday. Okay, the queen of hiking dies. Queen of Moore Street, Carmel, Mooney dies at 84. I'm assuming that she was like, maybe she ran this thing here. Maybe she's just like a well-known person. I don't really know. Dublin. Okay, so this is in Ireland. she ran a fruit and veggie stall for 70 years on Moore Street. Oh my gosh. That's a long time to work at just one. That's really cool. But okay, the Queen of Moore Street, Carmel dies. I'm not taking these ones as seriously. At any given time, there's a king or queen of some obscure thing that's probably dying. It's not like they're really kings or queens. But I wanted to show you what I came across. That's all. Um, Don Christopher, California Garlic King, who forever changed our palates, dies at 88. So this now we're getting into the garlic. Not even garlic is safe from this. If you're garlic royalty, I'd be worried right now. If there's a queen or princess or prince out there, or a duke or a count of garlic. Um, so okay, so he passed away. The Quiz King, he just died. All right, this guy right here from Australia. Um, the Peach King. Okay, the Peach King is now dead. I'm not laughing at his death. It's a sad thing. It looks like he has a wonderful family that loves and cares about him, and he looks like a delightful person himself. The Peach King. The Peach King is dead. Um, Gosh, the Sausage and Jerky King of Seattle is dead. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. So mid last year, the Sausage and Jerky King of Seattle died. Here is right here. Oh gosh, I'm getting a headache now. Oh, that was too hard. Okay, Luke the Lion. It looks like it's not limited to just humanity. Luke the Lion, Great Cats King, dies at National Zoo. So I read through this. Yeah, it says right here, Luke was truly the king of the Great Cats exhibit. And this is actually, I'm going to tell you something. This may seem kind of silly, but this could be a little symbol for the people that work there or are familiar of Luke the Lion. Oh gosh. Oh, please help me. Because any imagery of a king, right? No matter if it's just a lion, it could still have an impact on the people that work with him, know him, love him. You have a king that dies, and the same holds true for all of these. Because how many times in your life have you had like a little sign that doesn't really mean anything to anybody else, but to you, it does? So it could be that the Lord is doing something with people. He's like putting in their minds, like, look, the old way, the kings, the old world order, essentially, it's coming to a close. And he's communicating that in very many different ways. Okay, so I don't know. I kind of as far as like putting things down, I stopped at Lisa Marie Presley. Just because I felt like this is pretty significant, just because of it's rare, and Elvis was famous. So let's take a look at the Second Coming timeline. So let's just look at the big picture. Let's look at everybody that passed away from 2022 until now. Shinzo Abe in July, Japan's longest serving prime minister at 67. In August, President Nelson becomes the longest living apostle in the Latter-day Dispensation. Later that month, Mikhail Gorbachev, the longest living leader of the Soviet Union, passed away at 91. Just a couple weeks later, Queen Elizabeth II died at 96, longest reigning British monarch and second longest reigning sovereign worldwide, behind French King Louis the 14th. And then the next day, President Nelson has his birthday. He becomes 98, and officially, if you're just going by years, he becomes the oldest living prophet and apostle of this dispensation. The timing on that is very curious. The day after the Queen dies. Next day we have... sorry, I just want to bring this up. Next day we have the largest earthquake of the year in Papua New Guinea, right after President Nelson's birthday. Okay. Oh my gosh. Let's find the next one. Okay, Jiang Zemin, whatever, passes away at 96, the longest living president of China and leader of the Chinese Communist Party. Just a couple weeks after that, the last Hawaiian princess that we just talked about, Abigail, passes away at 96. A few days after that, Pelé, the king of soccer, passes away at age 82. 2 days after that, Pope Benedict passes away, Pope Emeritus passes away, age 95, longest living pope of all time. That's 2,000 years, okay, longest living pope. Okay, and then now we're in the new year, 10 days later. Last king of Greece, Constantine II, passes away at age 82. And then 2 days after that, Lisa Marie Presley passes away. Princess of Rock, age 54. So, that's a little bit weird, don't you think? I mean, I haven't really followed this in the past, but I don't think that this is really normal. You know, we're never going to have a last king of Greece pass away again because the monarchy is not going to come back. It seems like Pope Benedict really shattered a record there. I don't know how likely it is that someone's going to outlive him, because for 2,000 years, I guess nobody has. King of Soccer, I don't know if there's another one of those. The last Hawaiian princess or royalty. So these are like hard things to pass up, and they're rare. And these are really big, important places that we're talking about. The UK, Soviet Union, China. You know, we talked about Jimmy Carter. He's the same age as President Nelson. If he passes away before him, that's gonna be a big one too. So really weird. Really, really weird. Okay, so we're gonna continue. I didn't have time to like pull out all the names from this video, but I would encourage you to watch this. This is Jason A. He basically just puts together compilations of news stories of various things like signs of the times around the world. And interestingly, a day ago, he put out this video, Mysterious Deaths of Billionaires Worldwide. So now we're talking about the business world. All worlds, all leaders, they're all being affected, it would seem. All at the same time within, let's say like 6 months or so, but really within just like 4 months, maybe. Okay. So in here, I watched the video. They talk about different Russian billionaires that are mysteriously passing away, but they also We're talking about cryptocurrency billionaires that were also dying mysteriously. In the crypto world, a lot of them young, and there's like different things that they're saying. To me, it doesn't matter how they pass away. What's more significant is the time, regardless of cause of death. It's the time when at, at a time when all these powerful people are dying. Okay, so make sure to check that out. Maybe if I dive into it, maybe I'll do a follow-up video. Okay, then we got Crochet Mama. Okay, now we're moving on to something kind of different. She says, I've always seen the men's hearts failing them, quote unquote, as people losing faith, losing hope. However, have you noticed how many youngish people are having heart attacks lately? It's crazy. Maybe I shouldn't have looked at it. Maybe I should have looked at it more literally. Just a thought. And that very well could be. That very well could be. Um, One of the things that I've put on my tracker, this is under the, where is it? Prophecy fulfillment. Here it is. Prophecy fulfillment. Here somewhere. Let's see. Let's do hearts. Anyway, men's hearts failing them. It's here somewhere. Yeah, right here. Men's hearts failing them. That it's been said that that's been fulfilled. Different people have talked about it in general conference. I really don't need to spend this much time on it. I need to like maybe revamp how this is laid out. Anyway, there's a lot of people that are afraid right now. Okay. There's fear about the economy. There's fear about war. There's fear about the future. There's fear about so many different things. So, in one sense, it's definitely fulfilled, and our general authorities have said as much. But yes, Crochet Mama, it doesn't mean that there can't be a literal fulfillment. So, I'll get to that in just a second. I wanted to read another email. I actually told her, I responded to Jessica Brown and said, I'm not going to touch on this. People lose their minds whenever this comes up, but you know what? Let's just do it. I'm not going to get into like the controversy so much. I'm not interested in the controversy. Okay. And I can't zoom in on this because it goes off the screen with this email, the way that it is. So just, okay. So just listen. She says, I don't know if you've been following the issue of significantly increased all-cause mortality over the past 2 years. The media is not covering it. And in fact, more like covering it up. Pre-2020 pandemic, pre-2020 COVID pandemic, it was commonly accepted that an increase in all-cause mortality would be catastrophic, quote unquote, on the level of apocalyptic, quote unquote, once it reached 10% above normal. We are there. And one of the most common causes has become heart-related issues. Myocarditis, I hope I'm saying that right. Myocarditis, heart failure, cardiac arrest, blood clots, that cause heart damage, failure, or arrest. It has become the most common cause of death in younger people. Yeah, that's odd, isn't it? I have my own theories why, she says. They may not be popular. In fact, I know it'll be controversial. The next question asked will be, then why didn't the church endorse and urge it? Or why did the church endorse and urge it? I have struggled with this question a lot because I was instructed by the Spirit, my doctor, not to get it. The Spirit prepared me for this decision a few years prior, but that's another story. And I have received my answer. It's perfectly possible and not contradictory for them to release the statements they did and for it to also be a cause of fulfillment of last days prophecy. I'm happy to discuss my thoughts on the matter further if interested. It's not something easily described in email. My point of this email is that I was pondering on this phenomenon we are seeing of people dropping dead left and right with little or no warning, and the fact that it's impossible to ignore something new is happening. Immediately the phrase, men's hearts shall fail them, came strongly to my mind. I always assumed that prophecy was metaphorical, but people losing their faith about that prophecy, just like Crochet Mama, that prophecy was always metaphorical about people losing their faith and hope because of the wickedness and pain of the world. I still believe that is one meaning, but something I've come to understand over the last few years as I've studied end times is that these prophecies can be, one, fulfilled in ways we don't expect, and two, fulfilled in multiple ways, both literal and metaphorical, both physical and spiritual. Just thought I would share my thoughts with you. Thanks for reading, and thank you for all the work you do for your channel. I watch almost every day. Awesome. Here's one video with a doctor about this and how the experts are not talking about it. And then there's a there's an Instagram link. P.S. After writing this email, I saved the draft because I had to take care of some other time-sensitive things. And I was checking social media later, and the first thing I saw when I opened my phone was this. Obviously not only one with this thought. And you can, I'm not going to pull up the whole thing, but you can see it right here. It's, talking about this right here. So, yeah, I'm on board with what she said. I did decide to do it. I'm not looking down on anybody if they didn't. It's just I got my own feeling that I should. And if you felt that you shouldn't, you prayed, then fine, whatever. So anyway, so let's look into this because I pulled up some articles that go along with what both Crochet Mama and Jessica Brown were talking about. Okay, so there's this right here. This is from cdc.gov. Clinical considerations, myocarditis and pericarditis after receipt of. Okay, I'm gonna have to. You understand that you can't just like say whatever you want here, right? So there's certain things that they don't like you talking about. So I'm gonna have to kind of, bleep it out. Okay, so clinical considerations. Myocarditis and pericarditis after receipt of among adolescents and young adults. In April 2021, increased cases of myocarditis and pericarditis were reported in the United States after data from multiple studies show a rare risk for myocarditis and or pericarditis following receipt of these rare cases of myocarditis and pericarditis have occurred most frequently in adolescent and young adult males, ages 16 years and older, within 7 days after receiving the second. There has not been a similar reporting pattern observed after receipt of. CDC continues to recommend, but everyone 6 months of age or older. For everyone 6 months of age or older, the advisory committee of have determined that the benefits outweigh the risks of myocarditis and pericarditis after receipt of. All right, so after that we have Cardiometabolic Institute. What's behind the rise in heart attacks among young people? Okay, the total number of heart attacks in the United States is lower than ever before. That's great news, right? But don't celebrate yet because there's one worrisome problem. Heart attacks are increasing in young adults under the age of 40, including those in their 20s and 30s. Not long ago, heart attacks were primarily a problem faced by older adults. It was rare for anyone younger than 40 to have a heart attack. Now, 1 in 5 heart attack patients are younger than 40 years of age. Here's another troubling fact to highlight the problem. Having a heart attack in your 20s or early 30s is more common. Between the years 2000 to 2016, the heart attack rate increased by 2% every year in this young age group. Yeah, okay. So here it says diabetes, a key risk factor. Young adults are increasingly diagnosed with hypertension, overweight, and obesity are key players. Smoking cigarettes and vaping are major risk factors. But you know what? people of this age group have always smoked cigarettes. That's not that's nothing new. Vaping, I think yes, because that's a relatively new innovation. I think there have always been fat people in this age group. Hypertension, I'm not so sure. Um, okay, diabetes, I doubt that. I mean, this isn't really like, okay, substance abuse takes a toll on your heart. Now, I don't know. Maybe there has been an increase in these things because maybe the world has gotten more stressful for people and you have more people trying to escape, trying to soothe themselves, because that's a lot of what it comes down to. Um, Smoking or drinking, for example, and drugs, these can be basically band-aids. You know, things are not going very well in your life. Um, you're depressed, you're not feeling good, things are upsetting you. And so you do that. You give yourself a little bit of relief, right? Kind of take your mind off things. Um, Overweight and obesity, maybe there's people that are eating comfort foods, because that's what some people resort to, is not so much smoking and drugs and stuff like that, but eating food, to comfort your soul. Uh, so I don't know. So let's go on to the next article. Brigham Health Hub. Why are heart attacks striking younger people? Most people in their 30s and 40s don't worry about having a heart attack, especially if they are fit and healthy. But heart attacks among adults younger than 50 years of age are on the rise, according to researchers at Brigham Health. Results from their study were presented at the American College of Cardiology meeting and showing that among individuals who suffer a heart attack at a young age, 1 in 5 were 40 or younger, and that the number has risen 2% each year over the past decade. In a related study published in a recent issue of Journal of the American College of Cardiology, these Brigham investigators showed the patients who suffered a heart attack before 50 may have a genetic disorder that results in high cholesterol known as familial hypercholesterolemia, or FH for short. So they're talking about this. Well, maybe it's a genetic disorder. Well, why now? Like, I don't know. There's probably a lot more to this. I'm probably just oversimplifying all these things, but I don't know. It doesn't seem to really add up based on these articles. Why? Except for maybe like the increase in like drugs, but I don't know. I'd have to look into those studies. Has there been an increase in consuming these different things that aren't good for your body? I don't know. Why heart attacks among young people are on the rise. They list the same things: diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, smoking and vaping, and substance abuse. It's the same. They're saying the same thing. Here's another one. I don't think I just had this up. I just didn't close out of it. Okay, and then there's this. This ties into what Jessica Brown was saying in her email. So this is thehill.com. Huge numbers. Insurance group sees death rates up 40% over pre-pandemic levels. Remember how she was talking about 10%? Well, they talk about it in this article from The Hill. Okay. As the pandemic enters its second year running, the number of deaths the virus has caused is likely much greater than official numbers indicate, setting a historic record. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, explains the excess deaths are associated with directly or indirectly. Sorry, I kind of don't want to say that word either. Typically defined as the difference between the observed number of deaths in specific time periods and the expected number of deaths in the same time periods. So, in other words, whoa, this is a lot bigger than we thought. That's what they're talking about when they're talking about excess deaths. Currently, since February 1st, 2020, the CDC estimates there have been 942,431 excess deaths in the U.S. So more than what they were expecting. That's a staggering amount, as J. Scott Davison, CEO of insurance company One America, explained during a healthcare conference organized by the Indiana Chamber of Commerce this week. Oh, that's a staggering amount. Thanks for letting me know. 1 million? Davison said that his company is seeing the highest death rates now that he's ever seen before he started in the insurance business. Okay. All right. So big thing is happening right now. This is an article from January of last year. So I can only assume that things have probably gotten worse. I don't know. One America offers employers across the country group life insurance, which generally covers people 18 to 64 years old. Even more alarming is where those death rates are hitting, says Davison, saying it's primarily among working age people between the ages of 18 and 64 who are covered by One America's group life policies. The insurance company says that's similar to what the rest of the group life industry is seeing and is consistent with CDC data. So, again, an unusual age group to be dying. 18 to 64 in this case, looking at it from a life insurance perspective. Okay, quote. This is Davison. Death rates are up 40% over what they were pre-pandemic. End quote. To illustrate just how severe the current death rate is, Davison said a 1 in 200 year catastrophe would likely only cause 10% increase over pre-pandemic deaths. So, that's another way of saying that, I guess by their calculations, because they have to think about these things to be profitable, make sure they don't go out of business. Okay, how often do these big events happen, and what should we do in order to be prepared so that we don't go out of business? Well, from our studies, once every 200 years, there's some kind of catastrophe that happens, and there'd be only a 10% increase. So, okay, so we can do that. We'll save up for that. I'm just assuming. I'm assuming that's why they would track this, obviously. They want to make sure that they're covered and they can handle such a situation. Well, expecting a 10% increase once every with one particular catastrophe once every 200 years. Well, in this case, it's not 10%. It's not a 10% increase. It's 4 times that. It's 40. So hopefully, they were prepared for that. I'm not an insurance professional, but, I'm not so sure that, that's a lot. Who could have expected that 40% instead of it's almost like they were probably thinking worst case scenario is 10%. Maybe they have some other number in mind. Hopefully they accounted for a 40% increase. Otherwise, they're in big trouble having to cover all that and not being able to. So it sounds like they're able to. So they must have had something in place, but 40% compared to 10% once every 200 years. This is someone named Polak. He says, we really don't know what the tail of this thing looks like. The further you get out from infection, the longer time you have to potentially develop some kind of complications. End quote. Complications from aren't really understood, as many people suffer from lingering symptoms, sometimes referred to as long. The CDC says most post-Billionaires conditions can last weeks or even months after first being infected with the thing. Commonly, reported symptoms vary widely from difficulty in breathing and or thinking, joint pain, mood swings, sleeping problems, and changes in taste or smell. Okay, so, different theories, I guess, as to why these things are happening, right? And I don't think that we can discount the Lord. And I'm not trying to say that if you've had a friend or family member that's passed away, that it's, because of unrighteousness or anything like that. Only you really know who that person was, and you may not even know really who that person was. So it's just, we can't really speculate when it comes to that. But in a general sense, what just happened? In a general sense, we might wonder if the Angels of Destruction, which have been at work since 1893, that's when Wilford Woodruff said that they were released, with the dedication of the Salt Lake Temple, that maybe they've picked up speed and they've hastened their work. And again, it does seem like the actual burning is going to be an actual burning. But I don't know. Wouldn't it be interesting if Christ is approaching Earth and his approach and his glory could have these kind of effects as well? Although it does seem like those effects are kind of targeted at important people. So weird. So weird. So weird. This year is starting off in a very interesting way. This, along with California flooding, along with a 7.6 earthquake, which 7.6 was the largest earthquake of last year, so we've already tied last year in terms of earthquake magnitudes. We got the Ukraine war still going. This is so weird. It's so weird. So, okay, so if I missed anything, like I said, feel free to put it in the comments below or email me. This is an ongoing effort, filling out this timeline and filling out, the quotes timeline, the rising generation quotes timeline, the phrase tracker, the future is bright timeline, the topics A through Z. It's an ongoing thing, but the more data we add, the better of a picture we have, I think. When we're able to see the big picture, put it all together. And so far, I feel like that picture is rather sobering, stunning, and I think things we're clearly in a different phase. I would say that we're even in a different phase than we were at the beginning of 2022, just because of everything that happened in 2022. All right, well, that's going to be it for this one. So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also, make sure to share this, and I'll talk to you guys later.